Because I'm an immigrant and I grew up translating for my parents, everything, we picked up English very fast. We were younger when we came to the States. So we were used to translating documents for our parents. So now that I do real estate, I translate everything.
We say in real estate all the time that it's really about the story. And the story that you're able to tell about yourself oftentimes attracts your ideal client. And I think our guest today is the perfect example of that. So we're going to be sitting down with Karina Chavez. She has an absolutely fantastic story. She moved to the US, to Albuquerque, New Mexico, from Mexico when she was 12 years old with her family. And fast forward all these years, is now doing just under, I wish I could say 100, but it was 97 homes in 2025, which is more than 99.9% of agents out there. But she's doing almost all of them with people in her community. And there's a level of opportunity and trust that she's developed because of her own story and how she did it for herself first. So Karina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
So let's just start with the basics. So you moved to the US when you were 12. What was that like coming here without, a ton of relationships and without like already having a gigantic community to draw from?
Well, I think that's the key. We came without a community. We came, and Albuquerque just welcomed us into their arms. It was a community that was ready for us. We were Spanish speaking only, and slowly but surely we made this home. This is home now, and they welcomed us with arms wide open.
How did you get into real estate? So, I think so many, like my family immigrated here from another country when, before I was born, and then I was the first one born here. But I think so many immigrants get here, and then it's figuring out like, where do I fit in career-wise, job-wise? Like, how did you end up in real estate specifically?
Well, my father was an architect in Mexico, and his degree is not he was not able to use his degree here in New Mexico. So he decided, hey, I can't use my degree, so I'm going to sell homes. So he took the course and he started selling homes. And then at some point, when my father was doing real estate, it was faxes. It was picking up keys. It wasn't like go and schedule houses and open the lockbox. You actually had to go schedule and pick up the keys and then open up the doors and then return the keys. And so when it started changing, that's when I said, hey, Dad, let me help you with emails. Let me help you open up doors. And I started just helping his business to grow.
I love that. So it's kind of like the family business, but it's really cool that he was able to jump into real estate. And I think too many people don't share, I would say, like the good word of how easy it is to get started in real estate, regardless of where you're from and who your people are. Because
Right.
Real estate's one of those industries where everyone needs help. And part of the American dream is home ownership for many people. But when you feel like there's no one like you who can help you, that American dream feels a lot farther away. So I know, fast forward all these years, you have a team. It's your sister, another amazing teammate, and you're kind of like the main realtor on the team. But the majority of your business does come from that Hispanic market. I just
Yes.
want to hear a little bit from your words, like how do you build that business? How do you do it differently?
I honestly, because I'm an immigrant and I grew up translating for my parents, everything, we picked up English very fast. We were younger when we came to the States. So we were used to translating documents for our parents. So now that I do real estate, I translate everything. The purchase agreement, I won't just send it out for signatures. I will actually FaceTime you and we'll go over it and we translate the entire thing so that you know what you're signing. And that eliminates every kind of surprise. That the communication is fantastic. Loan disclosures, we always know where the interest rate is at. We go over every document that you sign because I am the immigrant woman that's translating.
And I love that you're giving people the same level of service regardless. Like, it's not fair that someone, frankly, like would be getting a loan out but would not be able to understand the terms just because it wasn't in their language, especially in 2026. And so for you
Exactly.
to offer that level of service, that's kind of like becomes your calling card of it's an easy way for you to then get referred to other people from that community.
But also my millennials, they tend to get a document and I'm like, hey, I'm sending you a purchase agreement. And they just like click, 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 click and go. And then they ask the questions, and I'm like, even if you're an English speaker, I will still like go over the purchase agreement, make sure you understand it, and make sure that you know that there's deadlines that we have to comply, and then we're all on the same page. So it translates no matter
That's such
what.
a great piece of advice for like anyone who is in real estate right now, is that I think there's this assumption that like you sent someone a purchase agreement, everything's through Dotloop or DocuSign,
Yes.
and they sign it, and so you as the realtor assume that they didn't have any questions and that they understood everything, when really they were sitting on the couch watching Love Island or something, and they just clicked sign, 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 and they didn't read that there's a penalty for this, and they didn't read that they were given an adjustable rate interest rate, and they didn't know all of these other things about how possession wasn't for 3 months after closing. And so I think it's a really great piece of advice to make sure you have something scheduled that every time you send an important document over, you're calling them to go over it. Just that you as the agent know that they understood what you were trying to convey, especially all the important details, because it would come back on you if they did not, unfortunately.
Right. And it's funny because I have the team and it takes a lot of coordination. My sister's my TC, so if she's sending out the disclosures, like the adverse fact disclosures, she will let me know, hey, I'm going to send them. And then I call them up and then I'm like, hey, in your inbox, you're going to receive a document. Let's go over it together so you can sign it comfortably. But it takes a lot of coordination and communication with the team.
Absolutely. So I want to hear a little bit about, we talked a little bit about this idea of you want to find people to work with who want and need homes rather
Yeah.
than, and you kind of help them get into a home rather than the dream home. I think this is like a big myth that we need to dispel, is that people watch TV and they think of like, I got to get into the perfect home, got to get into my dream home. But really, it doesn't always start that way, and it's almost a disadvantage to both your clients and to yourself if that's the mindset. So I would love you to just walk us through how you approach that and what that's led to for you.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the perfect clients because I'm actually shopping for their second home right now. We bought a home. They're not married. It's a young couple. I believe they're like 24 and 25. So they're super young, barely starting their degrees. They just got out of college. They're not married yet. They wanted to buy a house together. And I said, okay, let's do this. We're going to use the first-time home buyers with the first gentleman, which his name is Jesus. He was able to purchase a home by himself, $250,000 with an affordable payment. And it was, even though he wanted a big backyard, even though he wanted backyard access and he wanted a big storage shed, and he's like, I'm going to be in the construction company, so I want to have a lot of yard. And I said, no, you know what, like, let's find you a comfortable house. Like, because right now you're not at the level that you can afford that house, let's find you something that's comparable to what you would be comfortable in. So we got them into a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, affordable payment. And then 2 years later, his girlfriend graduated college and now she has the job. So now we're shopping for a house for her. We're going to rent this one out. And the third home, we're going to combine incomes. So then I grow their portfolio. They're going to have, by the time they get married, they're going to have 2 houses under their belt that are going to be rented out. And the third one is going to be their forever home.
I mean, that's crazy. Like, you are creating so much wealth for your clients, but also you're creating experience for them. And there's so many people that go transactionally and they help them get that first house. They don't follow up and you lose out on all that opportunity. But I think the way that you're doing it, you're almost like selling investments. You're selling, you're selling wealth. You're selling that dream. But you're starting off the right way. You're starting off with setting their expectations on what the reality of buying a home right now is.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. So how do you have that conversation of, someone talks to you and they think they want the dream home and they say no to the first 5. How are you able to like get them to understand the way you see it, and that it's really just about getting your feet wet and getting that first piece of property?
I'm very realistic. Because I work hand in hand with my lender, so I know what they qualify for. So if they tell me, hey, I want land and I want a brand new house and I want backyard access, but they only qualify for 250,000. That's a $400,000 house. So then I'll pull up everything in the MLS of what's available in their price range, and I'm like, this is what's available for you. This is what you're going to be able to purchase. As you can see, it's not what you have in your head, but if you were not living at home, you'd be renting an apartment. So let's look at the prices for apartments. And then I compare them, and I'm like, obviously it's better to be building wealth right away at an early age rather than renting an apartment and wasting your money. So I will pull up apartment rents.
I love that. And so when you're then having that conversation, what does everyone just say yes and agree with you, or do some people, like, does it take them longer to understand that?
I think they're very realistic. I think it's normal. Once you show them the facts and once you show them the houses, like, you can't really go against evidence.
I love that. So let's talk about your marketing. Like, what are you doing to attract new customers? Because your business has grown every single year.
Yeah,
I'm sure next year it'll be well over 100.
I hope so.
What
Yes.
specific things do you do on a weekly basis to ensure that your business grows?
So it's not a weekly thing for me. I actually do a lot of events for my community. So for Valentine's Day, for example, we did the office. We hired a coffee truck, and they brought in coffee for all my clients, and we did a photo shoot, like mini photo shoots for all my clients, and it was completely free. And they would just, I posted it everywhere, and they would be able to come take pictures with the kiddos, take pictures with their loved ones, their dogs, and they come and I get to see them, and I get to talk to them, and I get to, like, get them to the next step. So I get them to come to my office, I keep up with them, and then we go along with the next house. So this past event that we did, we had over 100 people show up, and out of those 100 people, 4 of them are ready to move forward to the next step. So we'll do Valentine's Day, we do Thanksgiving, we do Christmas, I deliver poinsettias to them. So I try to, like, do a lot of events to spoil them and keep in touch with them.
Well, I think what really interesting point you just made that I want to make sure everyone listening, like, lets sink in, is that you don't do the event just to do the event and just to say thank you. Like, that's obviously a hugely important part of it, but you do it so that you have the opportunity to have that face-to-face interaction with them and to listen to them and to hear what's going on in their life. Because almost anytime you see someone you haven't seen in a while, you ask them, hey, how are you? They ask you the same question, you go back and forth. But then when you find out that they just changed jobs, they just had more kids, they had a marriage change, all of these types of things, that is your ammunition to then say, okay, is this someone that I need to follow up with more aggressively on Monday or Tuesday because they exhibited some type of buying or selling sign? Or the lucky ones, they just tell you that they're ready to buy or sell, and then you get an easy deal there. But also, like, it's the invitations to the events. Like, every event you do is a chance to pick up your phone or text them and have a mini conversation. You might even get business from people that can't come to the event itself, but they heard from you, and now they're, oh, I heard from Karina. She's my realtor. Oh, I should tell her I'm going to be buying soon. And it creates so many interesting opportunities.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's just super special. Like, one of the clients that came over, she brought her 6-week-old baby, and I'm like, how amazing! Like, they get to bring me this baby and introduce him to us, and know that I'm gonna be a part of that family forever.
it's so huge, and it again goes back to the community. Now, I know when we talk about community, in addition to hosting events, working with your Hispanic community, you've also been involved in some interesting kind of like real estate related things. Talking about the food halls and the affordable housing initiatives that you're working on, because I think it's so interesting because obviously it brings up the entire community, not even just your people, but also, like, helps you meet a lot of people in the community.
So in my market, I started seeing that there was a lot of veterans that are in a fixed income that cannot afford to buy a house, not with their pensions, not with what they are receiving right now. And I started seeing a huge need in my community that I needed to house these people. So then the opportunity came. Route 66 runs smack in the middle of Albuquerque, and it has a lot of dilapidated motels. They were built in the 1950s. They used to be hopping and popping in the 1960s and 70s, but then they started just not getting the maintenance they needed, not getting the owners that we wanted, lots of drugs, prostitution, and they just were very bad for my community. So I started buying them so that I could turn them into affordable housing. Instead of having a small motel room, we added kitchenettes, and it's a studio. We include water, gas, electric, and Wi-Fi, and it's mostly for veterans. They can afford that place. We own 3 of them. We work with a lot of organizations like the veterans, like Catholic charities, like a lot of organizations that house people that are in need, and it makes me feel good about what I do.
Well, it's huge, and I think too many times, like we talk about real estate and we talk about how to grow your business and how to get leads, and it sounds very much like a selfish endeavor. But since housing is such a huge issue around the country, when you're able to work on projects like this, that it reminds you why you do it. It reminds you why it's important, and it's giving someone a start.
Yeah,
Like we at our office, we do a scholarship every year, and we basically give $5,000 away to 5 people in town who are all 17 to 19. And it's not just for college. It could be to start a business. It could be they're going to the military and they need a kickstart. It's just helping people in our community get started.
yeah,
Whether it's housing, whether it's education, there's so many ways you can do it. And I think when you give, it also comes back tenfold in the future. So for anyone out there that's listening, I would challenge you to think, what could I do to give back? And if it's a way that contributes towards housing, it's a double win. Well, why don't you tell me what's next? So I know you're working on affordable housing. You're doing
yeah.
obviously commercial, residential. What are you going to be doing differently in 2026 to keep things growing and to shake it up?
So, I started real estate because of my father, and my father meant the world to me. He passed away a year and a half ago. One of the last projects he left me, I'm still working on. It is a 4th motel on Route 66, and his dream was to make it into a community center. He wanted to bring the community together. He wanted a place where you could go get a beer and go get your nails done and go get a hair. He just wanted like a shopping center where the community could come together. So the 4th motel, we are converting it into a food hall. It has 7 restaurants. It has a barbershop, a nail salon, and 2 bars. One of them is a sports bar, and the other one's a margarita bar.
I'm
So that's what we're
in.
working.
Let me know when that's
I
ready. I
know.
will be right there. I think that kind of goes to something interesting that I'm seeing as a trend right now, is this idea of like 5th spaces, right? Like back in the day, people would hang out at home with their family, they'd go to work, they'd go to church, and that was about it. And it seems like there's less of these community type spaces where everybody goes now that the world is just so diverse. And so this idea that you're creating this, not only will it be a great way for you to meet more people in the community, but it'll be somewhere where everyone can gather.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a great idea. I'm excited for you on this.
I am super excited. My kiddos are excited because I'm going to have my office there, and they're going to have tons of food. They're going to be begging to go to the office. Like, Mom, let me go to the office, and then they're going to go just get ice cream, and
Well, it's probably going to be really good from like a recruiting perspective too, because like it's going to be that place where people are gathering. And if you're an agent and you're looking for a place to physically be and post up, being somewhere where there's other people is always going to be a huge win. And I just think
right.
about all the cross promotions that you're going to be able to do with these different restaurants and with these different nail salons. I think there's a lot of creative marketing coming your way for sure. I also saw, speaking of your kids, when I was creeping on you on Instagram, that you use your son a lot in your videos.
Yes, I love them. I
I
love them.
hope you're compensating him. I think the IRS lets you pay a kid up to like $6,000 a year or something. Hopefully
12.
he doesn't hear this.
12,000 a year.
12,000, even better.
Yes. So I do. They're always with me. That's the reason I started real estate, because it was the one job that would allow me to have my kids with me at all times. So my kids are realtor experts. I will show them a house and I'll be like, what do you think of this house? And they're like, oh, Mom, it's really overpriced. Really, Mom, like your clients can do better. Like they're already growing in real estate and they know what it's like, and they put them to work. And they do go to a private school, but it's not for free. So every summer I buy them a house, and they have to flip this house. They don't get to play video games. They don't get to go to Europe. we are going to put them to work. We buy a house every summer for them. They have to do the painting, they have to remove the carpet, they have to replace doorknobs, and that pays their tuition for the year.
I absolutely. Now, how old are your kids? Because I think people listening might want to know, how old are these kids that are flipping a home?
8 and 14.
Oh my gosh, I have an 8-year-old, and I think I
Open
was doing
ties.
too much of the things you said not to do. So my 8-year-old definitely needs to start painting and flipping some of my rentals for me.
Yes, I mean, obviously we can't do electricity, we can't do plumbing, but anything that's painting, cleaning, picking up garbage, they do.
Yeah, you just have to wait till they're 9 to do all the dangerous stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what I find really interesting about that is, number one, you're teaching a valuable skill. But when those kids go back to school and they tell their friends how they spent their summer, I mean, those conversations carry, and that kind of becomes like a calling card. And I also really liked, when I'm looking on your Instagram and I can see all these videos of your family, it kind of humanizes you a little bit more and makes you more approachable. And I think that lesson is especially important for men, in that a lot of us, we need to seem more approachable and we need to seem more family oriented, because if it's just real estate, real estate, real estate, sometimes it's not a good reflection of what you're like to work with, because real estate's only a part of your life. It's so important to show all the other things you do. It softens you up, it makes people want to work with you, and it helps you connect with different types of people in the community.
Yeah, I think I've been doing Instagram for about 6 years, and I've had to refine it, because you're right. We tend to focus only on real estate. Like, look at my new listing, sold listing, pending listing, and it makes it really boring. It really does. So then I try to be more authentic and show a little bit more of my life.
Well, and I think there's nothing more authentic than your 8-year-old swinging a hammer and pulling carpet, right? Unbelievable. It shows the hard work ethic that the entire family has.
Yeah.
Well, Karina, this has been awesome. I love the advice that you've shared in the stories. If one of the agents listening has clients that are moving to New Mexico, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, they can reach me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Chavez Team Realtors, or they can call me anytime. My phone number is 505-220-7781. I do make it a point to answer all phone calls, guys. I have OCD about not answering. So by the end of the day, if I missed any phone calls, I will return every single one of them. So sometimes I get spams a lot.
That happens to all of us, but you never want to miss a lead, and I really appreciate that. Well, Karina, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And absolutely, please send me an invite when the food hall opens. That sounds absolutely unbelievable.
You have to come. Yeah, we're scheduled to open this summer, and we're going to have the grand opening 16th of September, which is Mexican Independence Day. We're going to have mariachis. We're going to have lots of tequila and lots
all
of fun.
Things that I love: booze and music. I'm in.
And tacos.
And tacos and nail salon. I mean, even my wife would be excited. Well, Karina, have a great day. Thank you so much.
Matt, thank you so much for having me.